Hey everybody, it's David with No Chaser, and today's topic is the concept of terminal uniqueness. Now, this is a phrase that's used in a lot of recovery rooms. It could go by other names, but basically the idea of it is this. It is thinking that your issue, whatever it may be, is something that makes you unable to be helped in a way to where. Now, and I have to preface this. This is not saying, this is not downplaying any suffering that anybody is going through with addiction, alcoholism, or mental health problems. This is not one of those, buck up, you snowflake type of thing. In fact, I'm specifically not calling you a snowflake. I'm saying the idea is that you're not unique in the suffering. That does not take away from what the suffering is. Pancreatic cancer is a horrifying experience, but it's not unique. So, and that's very specifically in recovery, this is a problem. And I know a lot about it because I am a person that constantly fell into this trap. I remember, terminal uniqueness, this idea is it's a branch off of self-pity. It's a very effective form of self-pity to keep you in a hole and not let you get out. So I remember very specifically that I'd seen many speakers before, whether in treatment centers or just your casual speaker meeting or what have you. And, there's plenty of times, and I remember one specifically where this guy had the most horrendous story, at least the one I've seen. Everybody's got a worse story. But anyways, he, was homeless and homeless again, had all this trauma, just really terrible stuff. And he said this, a thing that a lot of people will say, is that I can get through it, so can you. And I remember one of the first things my mind thought of was no. Actually, no, because you know what? You have a resilience that I don't have. If you can actually do this, then me and you are not alike in that respect, and you have something different than I don't have. I used to have this, again, just horribly self-pity way of thinking, in this trying to be detached sense of nihilism, where I'd just be like, you know what? Plenty of people have mental health issues and addiction problems, and they die from it. They never get, some would even argue the majority of people, succumb to it in a sense that they never get over it. And you know what? I'm just one of those people. My brain is just broken. This is not even about willpower or effort or what have you. Just some people's brains are just broken and they can't get over that. And that is something that I was drilled in my head a whole bunch of times. And this idea of terminal uniqueness, again, it's not about you being too broken or anything like that. It's almost a sense of the self-pitying way of creating roadblocks for you to be helped. I can't be helped because if this thing requires this to be helped, then I can't do that. Here's a perfect example, again, one from yours truly, is that, there's layers to this. When I was in AA, when I was trying to get recovered and everything, I, had a real problem with the higher power thing. By the way, spoiler alert, I still do. I wouldn't say a problem with it, but it's kind of an ambiguity, and I don't fret about it too much. But anyways, back to what was going on. I had a real problem with this. And I just, like I said, I fretted over it. And it was just constantly, I would just go from either completely apathetic to almost this sort of aggressive criticalness where if it ever came up in some meeting or if I was talking to people about it, I'd either go really hard about well, what about this, this, and this? Or I'd just fall back, but almost in a judgmental stance. And I fight away those impulses now. But the thing was that, everybody talked about, and a lot of people talked about how this was critical in you getting better. You had to have this thing. I was I'm not going to have this thing, and this is just not going to work for me, right? This is one of the many, self-imposed roadblocks I'd put in front of myself. I'm my mind just doesn't wrap around this. And I'd had all these misgivings where there's all these people that say that they were atheists or agnostic in this AA program, and, they always turned around. They always said they were, and then the higher power thing, they turn around and they're I'm not that person. Again, to this day, still I'm not. But there was two mistakes being made right away. One, I didn't just go, you know what if I don't figure this thing out now or ever? Let's just keep going with this. And two, for me to get better, it does not all rely on AA. Just this one program that I picked that was just the most available to me. This is not the end. The opposite of this idea of terminal uniqueness, the opposite of it is just adapting. Just finding another way if you it's honesty in adapting. If you feel that a pattern of therapy or some certain circumstances in your life are truly not going to work out, not just because you don't want to do them, then you just find another way. You just basically go, okay, what next then? It's that idea of just saying, what next then? And this and I won't keep repeating the phrase terminal uniqueness over and over again, but it's just this idea that you can't be helped. And this bleeds into a lot of things, again, just from my own experience, where a lot of people they have a tough time like reaching out for help, whether it's other people in recovery or people in their lives. And you could say especially men, but I know women that have the same problem too, where it's just like they don't want to reach out for help. They want to be the one to be reached out to, but they don't want to do it. And it's an idea of like pride and ego and all that stuff. And for me, that was certainly part of it. But another thing was I always had this in my head where I didn't want to do it because I just thought that's not going to help. It's just not going to help, that they're not going to be able to help me. My ideas are too complex, and they probably won't understand them, or, even I don't understand them, and just like saying them out loud, I'll probably end up feeling more alienated. And I was imagining this experience that hadn't even happened yet. Well, I mean, in the future. Now, it had happened before in my life where sometimes I reached out, and generally it went sour because the person wasn't quite grasping it, or they did, but they tried to take it in another direction that I was uncomfortable with. I could have just hung up there and just taken that L and just, moved on. And by the way, that was a minority of the times I helped out or I reached out. Most of the times it was very rewarding and it was helpful. But I let those few times fuse into my head of like, this is what it's going to be every single time. And I remember that like icky feeling, that fleeting icky feeling I had when just something didn't go, like something wasn't helpful that I tried. And I just let that just build in my head. And that is such a blueprint of this idea I'm talking about, where again, it's a whole nother story if you just think you're too broken. A lot of people just be like, I'm too fucked up, man. And I don't mean to make light of it, but it's like one of those things where it's just, so many times is you could just come to me and be like, all right, this is not going to work. How much did you try it? Again, this is what I was talking about, not just being able to adapt, but being honest. Like there were so many times where it's just like, dude, David, how much did you really try in this thing? I mean, how much of this is just assumptions you're making about how this is going to turn out? And how much of this is like you actually doing like the trial and error thing? Very, very few of it was trial and error. And most of it was just like a foregone conclusions. And there's been so many times where my mind and perspective and worldview and emotions about things have changed in ways I completely didn't expect. There's been so many times where there was a certain scenario I imagined was absolutely going to go this way. Like I know me better than anybody else, and it was going to go this way. And I ended up doing it, and the circumstances were the same, but I felt different about it. One thing is that I began working out and eating differently. And I thought the biggest part is just like looking better and, that self-esteem thing, that's going to be the most important part. And even in that, I had this weird sense of like, I just like feeling healthy. Like I don't, I work an office job and I'm not out there running or doing construction or doing anything, but I just like the feeling that I would be able to do those things. A very strange feeling that I did not think was going to be so prevalent in my mind, but that's what had come out of this. And there's been so many things like that. So many jobs that I thought I was going to love and then I ended up hating. Jobs that I thought were going to suck and I was like, this actually isn't so bad. And again, that's a big part of this thing of selling yourself short or just, I'm going to even say the word, pretending that you're not available to be helped because you've just made these foregone conclusions about who you are and what's going to work for you. And the truth is that you really just don't know. Things change, things mature. There's been so many things where I swore, years ago. And by the way, not like 20 years ago or 10 years ago, like even 2 years ago, these things that I would absolutely, in my mind, not be cool with, I ended up being pretty cool with it, And it's just this idea of just you're not fixable. Again, not because you're so broken, but you just can't be fixed. That is all your mind just, again, putting up these walls in the wide open spaces of progress. Like you're just not allowing yourself to do it. And I'm not going to lie, I still fight with this day by day, Maybe not day by day, but there's certain times where I feel like I'm doing well. And just even a couple days ago, I woke up with this very stinging depression. I was just like, this keeps coming back, this feeling and just this underwhelming feeling of life. And it's never going to be different from this, man. You're doing everything you're supposed to and you still feel like this. And God, I don't think I'll ever change from this. And you know what? That thing passed, and also I just look back on it and I was like, it used to be way, way worse. I used to tell myself that if I had like just half of the depression, half of it, I would be totally fine. Now I have that, and I feel a lot better, but I imagined a future, like for sure, that it was going to be different. Like things were just going to be changed a certain way, and I would be this way. And whether it's for good or bad, I don't fucking know. I think I know myself so well. I think I know what will work for me, and I really don't. It's all about, I just have to try, man. You just have to try. Sometimes trying is just experiencing life. It's not even doing something new. It's just experiencing it, and stop telling yourself that I'm a failure, I'm screwed up, I'm not going to get this together, I can't be helped, no one can teach me these things, these are just unteachable, intangible things, and I'm just like, I'm going to keep fucking it up, and it's just like, you don't know that. You don't know that because you've never been the you, like, this is going to sound really cheesy, but you've never been the you are today right now. You've never been this person. You may be at the same job, in the same relationship, but you've never been this person. And so to just say that you're like forever ruined, and there's not even a hope in your mind, you know, just because I just, the way my mind is, I can't grasp onto these things. That's bullshit. You just gotta try. And again, I'm saying this, and not calling you like snowflakes or you gotta pull yourself up by the bootstraps or any of that stuff. I still do it. I still think these thoughts where I'm just like, I'm never gonna get this shit, man. And it's fine. I'm not gonna get this shit maybe for today, maybe for a week, maybe for a month, but stuff always changes. For the good or the bad, it always changes. Anyways, I hope you could get something out of that. I hope everyone is doing well. You're not terminally unique. You're not a destructive snowflake of just unfixableness. I hope all is well with everyone watching this. Way to stutter on that last part. Damn it.